on building partnerships that deliver under our Ignited event. Really excited to be here because this event is sort of capturing everything that we have researched in the last 1.5 years. So really excited to be sharing all this content and all these resources with you. A bit of introduction about myself. So my name is Dr. Farzan Tahir. I'm working as a project research assistant at PSO for the Wet Blueprint project. Those of you who don't know about Powering Skills Organization, so we are the Jobs and Skill Councils for Australia's energy, gas, electro-technology, clean energy, and renewable sector. We collaborate with industry training provider, government to ensure that workforce has the skills and capability needed to support industry growth, innovation, and energy transition. Um, Before we begin, I just want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the country throughout Australia and on the lands on which we meet today. I am here on the Cabrogal people of the Darug Nation and I pay my respects to elders past and present. I extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people joining us today. Please feel free to mention in the chat where you guys are joining in from. And under that spirit, we want to make sure that today's conversation will be grounded in respect for people and place. Now, before we begin, couple of housekeeping rules before we start. So, first of all of you are on mute. If you're invited to speak, you can unmute yourself. It's just to avoid background noise and ensure everyone can hear everything clearly. If you have any questions, we have enabled the Q&A function as well, and chat function is there as well, so you can ask questions any way you want. Cameras are welcome if you're comfortable. You can keep it on. We are recording this session, and the recording will be shared after this event on our website. And live captions can be turned on from the top right corner as well. Now, before we dig into it, so just have a quick look on today's agenda. So what we will be discussing here today. So today's session is all about building partnerships and how we can effectively collaborate between vet sector and the industry. And that's what the project is about. So first we will discuss or we will have a look at why the partnerships actually matter. Then I will walk you through the framework that we have developed under that partnered project. What are the practical toolkits? What are the practical applications? And in the end, we will have our Q&A session as well. Now, first thing, why partnerships matter. So that's the main theme or that's the main key on which our partnered project was actually based. So Partnered is the Wet Blueprint part of a Wet Blueprint Stream 3 project, which I will explain a little bit more. But that's one of the code that you can see on your screen that industry and vet partnerships really fail because of lack of intent, but they fail because of lack of structure. So that was one of the saying which has come up in our research from one of the industry professional, and that was sort of like a crux which sort of inspired us to come up with this project. So first thing is like why partnerships actually fall over. So we have seen that across the wet and energy sector that there is a strong willingness to collaborate. Industry wants training that reflects the real workforce needs, whereas educators want stronger connection with the industry. Government wants better workforce outcome as well. Um, and this theme, as I've mentioned, has come up that we consistently hear that challenge is never a lack of goodwill. Industry wants to engage, RTOs want to engage as well, but the issue comes up because of the informal arrangement rather than the deliberate structure. So as a result, different problems emerge. There can be unclear roles. Often organizations enter the partnership with different assumptions about who is responsible for what. Employers may assume that RTOs will coordinate the workforce learning, for example. RTOs may assume employers will provide supervision and mentoring, and there are no clear rules and expectations defined as the beginning, which can lead to the partnerships to fall over. The second could be the compliance risk. It could be ad hoc engagement, depending on the contexts that are there. And sometimes it is just about the workplace mismatch and lack of resources as well. When training delivery gradually becomes disconnected from the real workplace practice, industry evolves quickly, equipment change, technologies change. So as a result of that mismatch, that delivery could fail. Um, these are the primary reasons for partnerships to fall over. So just at the beginning, because we are still like sort of setting the scene, so I just want to know like what is the biggest challenge that you have faced when you are partnering? So if you're industry and you are having partnerships with RTOs, or if you're an RTO engaging with the industry. So what's the biggest challenge that you have faced in your partnerships? It could be from finding the right partners to delivering the activities effectively, or measuring the outcomes or impact, or any other thing. So I will quickly just give you like 1 minute to, if you can just send it in the chat, or in a Q&A box, like what's the biggest challenge that you have faced, just to reflect on that. And then we go into the detail of what our project is actually doing, what impact does it has, and how the framework and everything sort of looks, sort of come together. So um, if you can pop it in the chat, like what's the biggest challenge that you have faced in terms of your partnerships? I can see different responses, B, C, D. We will collate in the end and see like which one is dominating, so that we have like all the data around that. In our consultation as well, A has been the major one, I think. One of the major one, I would say. Finding the right partners, yeah. That's the theme which I can see from the chat as well. Cool, perfect. Thank you so much for sharing. So what does our project does? So under the umbrella of Wet Blueprint project, we have come up with partnered, and this is project which was designed to address those kind of challenges exactly. Like rather than relying on informal relationships or one-off collaborations, main aim of partnered project is to create a more structured, transparent, and accountable approach to partnership across the wet sector. So what it actually does, so partnered is a national initiative focused on strengthening collaboration across the wet sector. Starting premise is quite simple, that no organization can solve everything alone. Training provider need expertise, educator bring teaching capability, industry brings current workforce knowledge, government brings strategic direction, policy settings, and investment. And all of these things, all of these stakeholders have to work together to seek a more connected system where responsibilities could be shared, expectations are clear, and outcomes are jointly owned as well. Um, as you can see, four primary stakeholders for partnered project were educators, RTOs, industry, and government. The project purpose primarily was to strengthen the collaboration between educators, RTOs, industry, and government, develop shared training delivery models, and foster co-investment and shared accountability for the workforce, having impact such as aligning workforce solutions, and create sort of systematic accountability for workforce planning and delivery. So these were the primary objectives of the partnered project. And our vision was very simple, that strong partnerships, smarter workforce solutions will lead to better outcome for the learner, better outcome for the industry and our communities. So how we went across that, and how we are sort of solving that challenge, or trying to solve that challenge. And we are really excited about all the outcomes that we have. So we came up with the partner-led framework. So this is a practical framework that we have developed for building stronger industry-led partnerships that align training, capability development, and workforce need across Australia's evolving energy sector. The aim of this framework is to provide a structured approach to collaboration between the energy sector and the WET providers, make sure that it is addressing the systematic gaps and aligning priorities. This framework is centered on formal agreements, but its principles can be applied to any working relationship between the WET sector and the industry. The main focus of its development and the main principles that go behind it, it's around making sure that it is flexible according to the evolving nature of our industry, and it is practical with constraints of the unique operating environment. In the energy sector, we have seen that partnerships differ in size, differ in scope, differ in duration, and as well as intended outcomes. So our framework was intended to design in such a way that it is catered towards that flexibility and that agility. Um, so without any further ado, um, first we will look at how the framework was actually formed and what are the main pillars on which it was based. So partnered framework was built around four interconnected foundations. So it includes quality inputs, quality outputs, collaboration, and relationship. Together, these foundations create the conditions for strong partnerships and ultimately better workforce outcomes. So I will just touch on a little bit of detail around these four pillars, just to give you a bit of perspective around that. So quality input sort of refers to like how every partnership actually begins. Before we talk about delivery, before we talk about the outcomes, we need to understand what we are trying to resolve, what we are trying to solve, and quality inputs actually help us do that. So it helps us to reflect on what is required, what are the questions that we are asking, what workforce challenge are we trying to address, what skills are required, what do learners actually want to learn, and what are the operational realities of the workplace. Quality inputs are about understanding everything before we start to act. This also includes things like industry intelligence, workforce planning, capability requirements, etc. So if we just put it in the simple terms, it's that if we want better quality outputs, we need to have like better quality input. So this is how it will go. The second foundation is quality outputs, which refers to partnerships must focus on delivery of training that meets operational realities. It can include learner success, improved productivity, stronger safety outcomes, evidence-based improvement and organization growth. Also, strong student-focused quality foundations, which facilitate agility, flexibility, and customized training solutions. Third foundation on which our framework is built, it's on collaboration. We hear this word a lot. We heard it in our consultations as well. Um, Collaboration is much more than just asking for the feedback or just attending the meetings. It's more about like shared ownership, joint design solutions, and making sure that we are bringing together all the expertise to solve the workforce challenges. Um, Educators, RTOs contribute in a different way, industries contribute in different way, and this collaboration requires transparency, trust, and willingness to adopt when circumstances even change. So basically, collaboration is where the partnerships moves from conversation to the actions. The last bit is the relationship bit. This is often overlooked. We have found from our research, we tend to focus much on the processes and systems as well, but partnerships are ultimately built by people. So trust, respect, and shared values matter. And our framework sort of reflects that as well, that relationships are often the glue that holds the whole partnership together. So together, these four foundations work together as a connected system. When all of these foundations are working together, partnerships become more effective, more resilient, and more capable of delivering long-term value. Um, Other than that, the next slide, what are the three life cycles? So we didn't want to complicate that framework and we wanted to talk about um, we want to talk about it in a very simple way, like how partnerships actually grow. So it starts with before. What is required in setting up that partnership well? This includes like clarifying needs, assess readiness, define roles, make clear go or no go decision. What should be happening during that engagement, and what should happen after that engagement. So we um, we build we build our framework across this life cycle just to provide that practical structure for how partnerships can be managed effectively. um, Before bit sort of focuses on the right foundations, during on focuses on effective delivery, effective governance, and after sort of rely on evaluation, sustainability, and continuous improvement. um, what I would say is like these three life cycle, they all play a really important role in making partnerships effective and accountable. So let's just look at the framework now. So this is how we have come up. So we are combining all these four pillars across these four life cycles. So what you're looking at is not like just a simple diagram. So it's sort of working like an engine and shows the whole process, like how that framework actually goes, and shows how structured industry RTO partnership takes that capability. So on the left hand side, you can see as a starting point, like wet sectors, what are the existing strengths, which includes industry relevant training, workforce, institutional value. Um, on the right hand side is the destination that where we want to be, which includes like skilled, talented pipeline, productive employees, genuine competitive advantage for the sector as well. Engine in the middle, that's the main framework that will help us go through this raw data to the final outcome. So these four pillars and are how that conversion happens and how they are actually working in sequence. So again, quality inputs is what we put in, quality outputs, a competent workforce, growing capabilities, what is coming out. But input and output don't last alone. As we have discussed, we have collaboration and relationship as well. But the most important part is that diagonal a maturity model that is going on. And that's the main bit of the framework as well, which shows that partnerships don't just arrive fully formed, they actually grow, and that can sometimes lead to frustrations as well. um, Level one of the partnership is foundational, level two shows that it is developing, then it is integrated, and then transformational. And this shows the x sort of like S shape, which shows that this is accelerating. um, Early progress might feel hard, especially when it comes to asking the right questions or getting the right partners on the table, etc. But once we get used to it, once we pass that stage, it sort of starts to mature. And once the system locks in, once the trust locks in, all the value starts to compound. And that's how the journey sort of flow. So this is how the framework actually looks like, and that's how it is working together. But the main purpose was not just to give the framework to our readers and to our stakeholders. So the whole idea of the project was how we can make it more practical, and how we can make sure that we provide our stakeholders with the tools that how we can apply this framework in actual practice. Um, so what we did was we come up with the guide as well, and we come up with the detailed toolkit, which I will show some glimpses of it, and I will show you the resources from where you can access all these resources. Um, so how does that guide actually looks like? So that's how the we have already explored the principles. We have already explored the maturity model. Now how do we put this into practice? So this slide sort of give you that picture. It shows the practical tools, actions, and resources that support each stage of the partnership journey. But the important thing to remember here is that this is not a rigid process. So not every partnership will require every tool. So we want to provide our stakeholders the suite of resources so that they can use it according to their need and according to the partnership scope, size, and dimension in which it is going. So organizations can select the tools that match their complexity, risk, and level of readiness. Um, so you can see from there that it follows the same structure as before. So again, before, during, and after model, each stage with a clear purpose, with the clear tools. So I will just go through the tools very quickly so that you have a better understanding of that. Um, Let's start with the before stage. So this is where successful partnerships are built, quality of planning, quality of everything that follows will sort of originate from that. So the major tools are partnership canvas tool that is available. Think of it as a structured conversational tool which help partners to clearly define the challenge that they're trying to resolve, encourage discussion around the objectives, responsibilities, expectations, stakeholder, and desired outcomes. Training need analysis, TNA, alongside partnership canvas sits TNA. This tool sort of helps identify capability gaps and workforce requirement. It ensures that training is driven by actual need rather than just based on assumptions. And the focus remains on understanding what skills are required today and what capability may be needed in the future. Then we have like assessment checklist that can act as a readiness tool. It help organization consider the key questions before moving forward. Um, Key questions such as like, do we have enough resources? Do we have clear governance arrangements? Have roles and responsibilities been agreed, etc. Um, we have other tools such as go or no go decision. So based on all those activities, ultimately support one critical decision, like should we proceed? Sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes the answer is no. A deliberate decision at that point can prevent significant challenges later. Now, during phase, which is the delivery and monitoring. So once the partnership is established, we move into the delivery phase. This is where planning becomes more action oriented. But successful delivery requires more than simply running like training programs, as it requires clear communication, transparency, and continuous monitoring. So we have in our guideline, we have developed some tools such as like mapping metrics tool, which sort of helps connect workplace activities, learning outcomes, and assessment requirements, create alignment between what learners are doing, what employers expect, and what training provider need to assess. Um, there is a tool called individual learning plans. Framework supports that. Every learner enter a program with different experiences, strength, and development needs. So these plans help tailor learning while maintaining consistency and quality. Progress tracking and evidence, one of the strongest themes that evidence supports accountability and evidence supports quality. So um, progress tracking helps partners to understand like whether objectives are being achieved and whether intervention is required or not. Um, Maintaining partnership integrity. This stage is also where like communications become critical, such as regular check-ins, shared governance, transparent reporting, open communication. All of these activities help maintain trust and keep partnerships focused on outcomes. The third stage after, which focus on review, evaluation, and sustainability. So we have developed, and that's the greatest value. And in the chat as well, when I asked the question previously, you have selected D option, which shows that there are issues with the evaluation and impact. So we have developed the evaluation metrics, which help partners assess outcomes against the objectives established during planning. Sorry. They ask questions like, did we achieve the intended workforce outcome? Did learners actually benefit from that? Did industry benefit? Or did the partnership create the required value that it's supposed to? We have tool such as pipeline mapping, which takes a long-term perspective. It encourages organization to consider future workforce need and future partnership opportunities as well. Rather than viewing training as one-off intervention, it helps create sustainable workforce development pathways. Um, outcome, renewable, and scaling. Should the partnership continue? Should it be expanded? Should it be adopted somewhere else, or should it be just concluded? So these decisions are based on evidence rather than assumptions. So these are some of the tools that we have developed. Running alongside, there's a set of shared reference tools. These include like common terminologies, agreed definitions, consistent language. Um, they may appear simple, but that consistency matter because again, we sometimes assume that the person who are the organization we are collaborating with, we are on the same page, but most of the times we are not. So these resources help us align our objectives and our create consistency and avoid confusion. So the main thing from this slide, that's why I spend a little bit more time on that, is to how to make this framework more useful and more more flexible. So moving on to the next one. Sorry, I'm speaking a lot. We have another poll coming up, so that will give me a little bit pause as well. So how partnerships actually mature in stages. So one of the question we often hear when discussing partnership is like, what does good looks like? And perhaps more importantly, like how to start. The answer is that partnerships mature over time, and that's what that line in the framework actually depicts. But I just wanna make it a little bit more, shed some light on that, like how it happens. So pre-partnering, that's the first stage we call. At this stage, organizations are still exploring whether partnership should exist at all or not. Um, Initial conversations are happening. Employers may look for training support, RTO may look for industry engagement, etc. And at this stage, it's all about alignment, it's all about shared purpose and developing those real expectations. Foundational, once organizations decide to proceed, they move into the foundational stage. This is where partnership begins operating. Roles and responsibilities are a bit clarified, governance and arrangements are being agreed on, and delivery begins. Level two, integrated. As trust and confidence grow, partnership begins moving towards integration, and this is where collaboration become more deliberate and more strategic. Instead of just simply delivering training, partners begin designing solutions together. Industry become more actively involved. Feedback loops become stronger, and communications become more proactive, which leads to the last stage. That's the highest level three, which points to the mature stage. At this stage, partnership has evolved into a long-term strategic relationship. Collaboration is no longer just project-based, and it goes much deeper than that. Partners share Partners share governance, they share planning, they share responsibilities for outcomes, and partnership is not just no longer responding to immediate needs alone, it is actively shaping the future. So um, important thing is that maturity model is that every organization starts somewhere. Some may be operating at the integrated or maturity level, other may still be exploring the first partnership. Both are valid, and our framework sort of caters to all that. um, Now I have a quick question for you, just because I think you will be bored from me from listening to me. So just a quick question, like where would you place your current partnerships if you are having some partnership with RTOs or industry, etc. Just curious to know like what is the maturity model right now? Like is it on level 0, level 1, level 2, or level 3? Um, of course, like there is no right or wrong answer for that. So just pop it in the chat. Which level of partnership are you currently engaging with? And then we will jump on to the toolkit. So I'll give just 1 minute for that. Some in each category. All of the above. Yeah. Cool. Perfect. Thank you so much for your insights. So now up to the last bit. So what we did, so the overall approach of the project was just to find out what the problem was, come up with the framework, develop the guidelines, but the guideline itself is not enough. So practical framework is built on making sure that how practical it is and how we can apply all these tools. And now we are moving um, from the guideline into the toolkit, that how this toolkit translates partnered principles into like structured resources, templates, and guides that organizations can use to plan, deliver, and strengthen their partnerships in practice. Sorry. I have mentioned all those resources in the previous slide. So we have developed the templates for all these so that organizations can don't have to like start from scratch. And Toolkit sort of provides a consistent approach to collaboration and continuous improve process throughout the partnered life cycle. So in this section, I will just quickly walk through these resources. Um, so again, everything is based on those three stages of before, during, and after. Sorry about that. Um, the slide takes that one step further by of focusing on that how these practical tools are going to help on each and like on each stage individually. So in the before stage, which is like laying the foundation, we can use partnered tools such as TNA to clarify the workforce need. We can use partnership canvas to assess the readiness. We can use compliance checklist to define the roles and governance. Similarly, during phase, which is about working together, support workplace learning, we can use tools such as RACI tables, operational checklists, etc. So we have all these tools available for all these different stages, which you can access through our resources that will help translate that framework into more practical model. Um, this slide, it's a very messy one. I just want to just put the like no need to read it or anything. So just want to show like all that how these templates actually looks like. So all those templates that we have discussed, such as like mapping metrics, TNA, implementation roadmap, assessment checklist, etc. So we have all these detailed resources available on our website, which you can access, and I'm pretty sure like that will definitely help you guys. Um, um, and these tools, yeah, you can access it according to your partnership and what's the scope that is there. Now, when we are sort of approaching the end of our session, so we have seen that how the framework works, what is the life cycle maturity model, the practice tools, implementation guideline, etc. But the main question is we often hear is that like what does good partnership practice actually look like in the real world? So um, we have one more resource available on our website where we have published like 14 best practical case studies from Australia and internationally. That will give you an idea like how the ideal partnership actually looks like. So this slide brings together some of these examples. So I just put those in just for your reference. Each example is different. They all share common characteristics that align closely to the partnered principles that we have discussed. So for instance, Queensland Future Skills Partnership. Um, demonstrate the value of industry-led curriculum design. Rather than training providers working in isolation, industry plays an active role in shaping the skills and capabilities being developed, and partnership focus on areas such as mining, automation, and emerging technologies, ensuring that training remains relevant to evolving workforce needs. Importantly, this model also demonstrates a co-investment across both the parties. And how it is linked to partnered perspective, it's like it represents strong quality inputs as industry intelligence is informing those training design from the beginning. The second one, BHP Future Fit Academy, that provides another strong example. All the details can be found in our resources available on the website, but this model is characterized by a close integration between training and employment outcomes. Participants are not simply completing the training, they are preparing for the real workforce opportunities. So how this links to the partnered, as it focuses on quality outputs and workforce capability developments. Similarly, if we talk about internationally, Singapore Skills Future initiative, it provides another powerful example. Um, it involves this model supports lifelong learning through a coordinated national approach involving government, industry, and education provider. What makes this model particularly relevant is its emphasis on ongoing learning rather than just one-off training, and this focus on when we talk about alignment with partnered. So this focuses on sustainability, continuous improvement, and long-term workforce capability development. You can access detail on these case studies on our website. All the resources are available over here. So just coming at the end, I would just like to leave you with like two practical takeaways, like what successful partnership consistently do well, and where organizations can start if they're providing if they're looking to strengthen their partnerships. So it can start what good partnerships do differently. They start with the shared purpose, investment early, evaluate and learn for the future, and where to begin. So you can, if you are an RTO, map the current industry partnerships, identify maturity models, pilot the tools. If you are industry, clarify your workforce needs, engage early in co-design and establish the shared governance. Similarly, if you are a government, you can start with supporting the partnership capability, encourage shared accountability, and enable long-term collaboration. Um, so that's the pretty much end of it. So as I was mentioning, like there are a lot of resources that are available. So if you can scan those QR codes, so the first one will take you to the framework, second one will take you to the case studies which I've mentioned. We on the website, there are some bits which I haven't discussed in this presentation because of the time that we have. But we also have like industry engagement questionnaires to get you information around like what are the right questions to ask. And all the other reports you can access you can access from the last QR code. It shows what we have a whole report on what was the research that has been taken place in developing that framework. So this framework was not just coming up as its own. We did whole bunch of research before that. We engaged with share bunch of our stakeholders as well to come up with this one. And all these tools, framework, and implementation guide, it's all grounded in the research that we have. So we are really proud of all these resources. So we will highly encourage you guys to check these out, and hopefully it will be helpful for you. If you have any questions, drop it in the Q&A chat or just drop it in the chat. Um, Thank you so much as well. We have another session coming up tomorrow, which is called Reality Check. It's a panel discussion, making industry partnerships work. I would highly recommend that you guys do register for that. Um, all our events, if you scan this QR code, it will take you to our Ignited website, so you can access all our events that are coming up today. We have a podcast releasing tomorrow as well. So do check this out. They're really exciting events, and especially the panel which is happening tomorrow, that will also showcase like how this framework can be applied, and we will hear from the experts like how industry partnerships work in reality. Thank you so much for this session, yes, you will have access to the recording. So all our resources will be available on the website. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you like the session. If you have any questions, let us know. Yeah, thank you and have a good rest of your day.